Hi, I'm Ava, and if you're watching this from behind bars, this is for you. It's likely that you've been watching When Jesus Meets Your Scars, but aren't able to afford the workbook. Well, thanks to some special donors, we are able to offer a free workbook to the first 100 incarcerated individuals who write to us. The workbook will help you grasp these concepts more clearly. And more importantly, that is where you find the self-assessment survey. Take that survey when you get the workbook and again at the end of the course. When you send that back to us at the end of the course, you get your certificate. So if your prison unit allows you to get free course materials sent in, be one of the first 100 to write to us to get your free workbook. Write to workbook in care of the Edge Podcast, 9659 North Sam Houston Parkway East, Suite 150-231, Humble, Texas 77396. Write today.
Welcome again to When Jesus Meets Your Scars. Today we'll explore how your birth order and sibling position shaped your personality, roles, and sense of responsibility. Even in the messiness of family, God is shaping something good. And now, here is Dr. Hrebik.
Well, welcome back once again. We're doing Lesson 9 this time. Thank you for hanging in there with us. And I sincerely pray that you and your family are studying together and learning and growing and healing together. So I have a definition of sibling position. Sibling position is the concept that one's birth order essentially creates highly predictable roles that become an equally predictable pattern for how one continues to behave in adulthood, especially within close relationships. So this is the one concept that Bowen did not create himself. He borrowed it from a guy named Dr. Walter Thoman. He wrote a book called Family Constellation, which was his life work. But Bowen admired his work, and he did his own clinical research and refined it for his theory. So family is the most influential part of life. And no matter what different articles are going to say that friends are the most influential, your family of origin continues to be your main source of influence. And that includes birth order and all the related aspects: gender, age, number, personality of siblings. So many things are influential, but sibling position is clearly universal, which is how it made it into the theory. Typical examples. Now remember, each position has strengths and weaknesses. A boss was an oldest child. He works unusually well with a first assistant who was a youngest child. It's just a tendency that's part of nature. All right, youngest children may like to be in charge, but their leadership style comes from a different place. It's a different style. And I want to stress that these are different characteristics, not better or worse, just like introverts and extroverts. Neither is better than the other. Awareness can change your perspective. Knowledge can inspire a whole paradigm shift. And your whole attitude, your whole perspective, your whole behavior can change with a simple realization. I mean, I learned about extroverts when I studied them. And I thought a lot of them did it intentionally. They just like to talk, to wear on introverts and to be offensive or irritating to introverts. So once I learned that they're just hardwired that way, just like I'm hardwired to be an introvert, it took all the heat away. It took all the pressure away. It's just how they are. So the same with siblings. If you're an oldest child, you're going to tend to behave one way. You're a middle child, etc. Youngest child. Not better or worse. Now, page 116 in your book, there's a table there with all 11 positions. Now, if there's an asterisk after it, then those are most affected by the position. All right, so brothers, we have oldest, and oldest of sisters with an asterisk. Then we have youngest, and youngest of sisters with an asterisk. And then only. Sisters, we have the oldest of brothers with an asterisk, youngest of brothers with an asterisk, and only. Now, middle children tend to swing one way or the other, toward the oldest, toward the youngest. Generally, only children have a tendency to work harder to make connections. It's going to be a little harder for them to connect with people. Oldest people tend to overfunction. Youngest tend to underfunction. When two youngest marry, they tend to have a hard time making decisions. When two oldest marry, they have a tendency to have more conflict. But it's very critical to note that no one is bound by the pattern. It's a quote from Systems People, bound by the pattern. Everyone just has tendencies, and all tendencies are affected by the level of fusion. Gilbert talked about how the more fused families are, the more they're going to be affected by all the concepts, including this one. They have less differentiation, and therefore they have more typical sibling positions. They have more weaknesses and fewer strengths of those positions. The less fused families are, the less they're affected. They have greater differentiation, and they are less typical of sibling positions. They have more of the strengths and fewer of the weaknesses. So you can have more control over your personal and family function than you know. You can make changes, big sweeping changes. Your future is not determined by your childhood. You can increase differentiation, and you can reduce fusion at any time. Haringing says that changing pattern reactions with siblings is important not only because it may improve those family relationships, but because it sets the stage for change in all other significant relationships. Remember, you carry these things with you into every relationship you enter. So how you're going to be is probably how you were the last time. It just follows. You bring it with you. Gilbert says that family fusion and level of differentiation are the main factor. They're the main variable, and it determines the extent you carry that sibling position into adulthood. And again, all these concepts are about awareness, teaching you awareness about you. And the more aware you are, the greater ability you have to think about what you're doing. And the more you can think clearly about it and objectively, the greater you have a chance to make a change under your own power, not under duress or influenced by others. So an example, someone rubs you wrong. They come in, they're very heavy-handed, they're authoritative, they're bossy. You have choices. You can judge them, you can triangle against them, you can cut them off, you can project on them. Everything's their fault. You can collect a whole bunch of people to join your side, and you can just rip them a new one. Or you can understand the source of inherent tendencies, inherent wiring. An oldest child naturally feels responsible for others. And personality conflicts come from different types of people. Again, like introverts and extroverts, oldest and youngest, onlys. It's just their nature. It's generally not intentional. Now, some people are going to take it to the extreme. Some people are going to be extremely annoying. I had one supervisor, and he was clearly an oldest child, and he took it on steroids. But even so, even with that, understanding the tendencies made it a little less obnoxious. It made it a little more tolerable. And I could actually stay calm, even with that kind of personality, just by understanding where he was coming from. Another example, two choices. You can become a lazy Susan. You can just repeat that portrait. You know, I'm a youngest child. I was always the baby. Everybody took care of me. I kind of like that. I think I'm going to hang on to that. Now I'm an adult, and I'm expecting everybody to take care of me, and guess what? They don't care. So you can choose to be bound by that pattern and retain those tendencies. Say you had sibling rivalry. You argued everything to death. You might carry that tendency with you and just tend to argue with people over nothing, over anything, over everything. You may have had an abusive sibling, and you can stay stuck in that, and you can start seeing abuse everywhere. Another option, do something different. Resist the pattern, resist the tendency. Push back against that unhealthy reactivity and embrace something more healthy. You always have a choice. There's never a time you do not have that choice. So sibling position is basically a built-in reminder that you need to work on self, no different than all of Scripture. You need to get yourself unstuck by understanding these principles. You have the ability to do that now. Not everything is evil. Not everyone is evil. Not everyone's out to get you. And you can gain knowledge and understanding and form a better response, a more mature response. And you can start to create new ripple effects in your family system. And you don't have to wait. You can do it at any time. In the spiritual component section, Scripture teaches us that anyone can surrender any aspect of their behavior. Anyone can submit old habits, vices, patterns, tendencies to Jesus. Anyone can allow him to transform them into his likeness. Well, all these system concepts flow into that. They just give you more detail and more understanding of what's going on beneath the surface so that you can surrender them. I understand now where that came from, so now I can surrender it. Page 120 in your book, again from my friends Harrington. I'll have to remind them how often I quoted them. Prayer is a good way to address these questions in a dialogue with God. Rather than running away from the family, we bring it and ourselves into dialogue with another. Prayer reminds me to stand apart from the emotional processes of my family, participating in it, but not overwhelmed by it. Romans 12:2 says, "And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect." So let God give you new insights. Let him use systems to give you new knowledge and information. Let him guide your thinking. He wants to transform your mind. He wants to overhaul your unhealthy habits and perspectives. So let him do that. Let him use systems to do that within you, step by step, one act of surrender at a time. I have another quote. The positive changes in behavior that come from staying calm and acting maturely show signs of personal growth, especially for those impacted by siblings who took things to the extreme. So maybe all your abuse came from your siblings, and so you have huge damage from them. Well, it's no different they had come from parents or grandparents or even others outside the family. It's still left to you to deal with, for you to accept, for you to face, for you to forgive who's ever involved, and for you to process the reality of what's going on within you. And I hope you're seeing an overlap of these concepts, and especially overlapping paths to solutions. The impact of fusion on every concept, the critical need for differentiation throughout, and a parallel with scriptural self-control and self-discipline. This is how you're going to stair step to emotional sobriety and emotional maturity, stepping out of emotional chaos. And all of this, of course, is going to lead to spiritual growth, spiritual maturity. And the whole time it's going to run a perfect parallel with systems. Biblical and system goals are perfectly parallel. There is no incongruence, as we've said before. Perfectly parallel. So that's the last page or slide in this week's lesson. Let me go over the questions real quick. Do you think any of your behaviors today stem from your sibling position? Were you that oldest, bossy, overbearing child, over-functioning? Are you still doing that? Because that's just who you are? Is that your excuse? It's just who I am? Among your various character traits, is there one that you think would be easier to change than others? Why or why not? And that might be where you would start. Start with the easy ones. Do you think there is a connection between sibling position and the fact that some areas of our lives are harder to surrender to God than others? How does differentiation connect with this concept? I've said all along, like I would say on day one to my class, we're going to talk about your hardest day. You've already survived it. So we're going to move forward from there. So, in my view, I'd rather tackle the tough ones first. Take those, God, work them out. The thing is, everything's going to be easier after that. So we are grateful that you continue to study and learn and grow and heal together as a family. Please continue to help spread the word. Next week's lesson, emotional process in society, the ripple effect. And that is Bowen's last concept. We're going to look at the supernatural after that, and then we're going to have some relaxation and inner child exercises in week 12. We will see you then.
Sibling roles shape us more than we realize, but they don't define us. Thanks for watching this week's episode. Keep reflecting, keep growing, and don't forget to grab your workbook from Amazon using the ISBN on your screen. We'll see you next time when Jesus meets your scars.